back to the Not Carrie Bradshaw YouTube channel. In this video, I am recapping episode 6 of Lovecraft Country. They outdo themselves every episode with the level of fantasy, but also the very human aspects of it, where I think they are encouraging us to look at ourselves in this way that I don't feel like we've been prompted to do before. We'll get into that. So this episode takes place in Korea. We finally get to learn who Gia is. Tick has been alluding to what happened in Korea. There was a person in Korea when he had his flashback hallucination situation at the lodge back in like episode 2. It was Gia who came and tried to kill him, and it's now coming full circle that we're seeing exactly what that was. So this episode, while it's giving background and filling in some of the character around Tick, it's really focused on Gia in a lot of ways. On the podcast that I continue to encourage you guys to listen to, the Lovecraft Country radio podcast, they delve into the fact that Tick kind of serves more as Gia's love interest as opposed to it being the other way around, because she's very much centered in this episode as opposed to he's more the accessory than she is. But it's necessary in order for us to get a fuller understanding of his character, which I enjoy them allowing her to take more center stage. So what we find out pretty quickly is that Gia is actually a kumiho, said that right, which is a nine-tailed fox spirit that was summoned by her mom. I wrote down Soon-hee. Soon-hee's daughter was raped by her husband, her daughter's stepfather, and in order to avenge her daughter's rape, she goes to a shaman and summons the kumiho spirit into her daughter's body so that her daughter could kill her husband when he next raped her. And in doing so, this kumiho has to devour the souls of 100 men before she can become human again. And so there's this really strange element of, you are really kind of pimping your daughter out here, but Soon-hee doesn't fully, am I saying her name correctly? Yes. Soon-hee has kind of disassociated Gia from being her daughter. In her mind, as long as this demon is in her body, this isn't really her daughter. So she treats her with a lack of humanity, tells her that she doesn't really know how to love, tells her that she's a monster. And what I enjoy about this episode is that it's encouraging us to consider what makes a human and what makes a monster, because what we can see from Montrose killing Yahima and from what we see Tick do later in this episode, humans can have a monstrous element to them. Humans can do monstrous things, but that doesn't have to be the totality of their identity. I think HBO does a really good job of this with their shows. Game of Thrones was exceptional at making you root for bad guys because they humanized them by showing how monstrous they could be and then where that monstrosity comes from. So that's a theme that's really being explored in this episode, and you can tell that Gia really wants to be loved by her mom, but her mom continues to reject the notion that she even knows what love is, because like in her mind, she's like, girl, you are a demon. Until you kill these 100 men by having sex with them and all these tails come out and suck out their souls and you possess their memories, and until you do 100 of that, you are not a human person and you know nothing about what you're talking about, which is dehumanizing for Gia. So also Gia is a nursing student. This is 1950 Korea, so the Korean War and all that jazz is taking place, and Gia is trying to learn to be human. I think she watches these Judy Garland movies, and it's almost like she's performing what she thinks the girls are supposed to be, which was so painfully awkward when she's doing this like speed dating situation and she just does not know how to connect with these men. But I think a huge part of that also is because she's had sex slash murder sex with so many of these men and knows how horrible these men can be. So I'm wondering if that's why she has a hard time really connecting with them anyway. So again, she is a nursing student and has a nursing student friend named Youngja. Youngja is a communist. And what we find out is that Youngja has been sneaking information to her communist friends. So we get to this scene where there's basically a firing squad. This scene was so hard for me to watch because they gathered up these nurses, these Korean nurses who have been taking care of the American wounded who treat them like shit. So they get gathered up and are put on their knees in a line, and I immediately was like, well, this shit is about to go horribly wrong. It was so hard for me to watch Black men exert that level of violence on people of color in the name of a country that doesn't even accept them, especially back then. And to see how heartless Tick was when he killed this girl, it was like nothing. When he shot her, it was nothing. It was absolutely nothing. And what they said on the podcast was this was kind of dethroning the king, because Tick has been our hero this whole time, and it's really interesting to see that he's capable, what he's capable of, while holding in our minds that like this is our hero. So I'm immediately like, okay, this is her best friend. I know that some sort of love story is going to happen between Gia and Tick, but how? I don't want no Stockholm Syndrome, Beauty and the Beast type shit. Like, how is this relationship going to work when she's witnessed him violently shoot her best friend, which the best friend was dragged off to be tortured, never seen again? And I was just like, how are they going to pull this off? I was concerned. I was uncomfortable. I did not like it. Yeah, so moving along. So the hospital scene. She sees Tick wounded at the hospital, and Tick is in this moment of extreme vulnerability that I don't remember. You know what? I'm gonna tell you the last time that jumps out to me, that I saw a Black man express that kind of childlike emotion of frustration and pouting, and he can't read his book because his glasses are broken and he's injured and he can't sit comfortably. The last time I saw a man be that kind of emotional was Boys in the Hood, when Trey went to, what was Nia Long's character's name? I don't remember. Goes to her house after he gets confronted by the police in this racial profiling situation. He's just swinging at the air and she's kind of like, is you okay? That was the last time that I can immediately remember seeing a Black man having that kind of childlike vulnerability. So between him being injured, her, you know, she's decided, I'm gonna kill this man. This gonna be my number 100, you know. But him being in such a vulnerable state humanizes him to her, where initially she was like, oh, that's a monster. It's very easy to project that onto someone else, right? That's a monster and I'm not that, so I can feel good about killing him. But then you see him wounded, you see him struggling, you find out that he, you know, has this form of escapism in books, and they connect about these books and these movies, and he opens up to her about his father. And, you know, she can obviously relate, because what this is basically just, not basically, there's nothing basic about it, it's actually quite complicated, but what it is an extreme version of parental control that Gia says, you know, we can't allow their fear to shape who we are, which is basically what Montrose was doing to Atticus, trying to beat the masculinity into him because his father tried to beat the gay out of him. And it's, I don't want you to be othered in the way that I have been othered, so I'm going to violently try to take this out of you, to save you, to protect you. And what we find out in this episode as well is that Soon Yi failed to protect her daughter because this man knew that she was a social pariah. She'd had a child out of wedlock, and he knew what she would allow him to do. So she is partially responsible, I think, or maybe was complacent in her daughter being raped. And she, you know, says, I just wanted to protect my daughter. And in order to protect your daughter, you turned her into a monster. So those themes of parental control as a means of fear and inflicting violence upon your kids because you are afraid or you have failed in some way is a recurring theme here. And I think they really connect on that front. I thought that the date on the base was so cute and so sweet and so thoughtful. And Gia is still like, well, this is a good opportunity to get to know the soul. So why don't you come back to my house and, you know, we can get it popping. But she decides that she does not want to kill him and, you know, tells him to leave. And the mom is super disappointed. And I was really happy that she went back to the base to confront Tick, to tell him, like, I know what you did. And my plan was to kill you. That was so, that provided like such a release for me, because I feel like so many times in shows, there will be this thing that just like goes unspoken, and it's like the elephant in the room for the audience. And it's like, girl, if you don't just tell this person so we can resolve all this. So he's upset when she comes to the base and is like, you can go. And she tells him, you murdered my friend and my intention was to kill you because you're a monster. And they have this confrontation about, no, well, you messed up too, you know. And he was like, what's wrong with you? The fact, it was something about the way he said what's wrong with you that just like made me giggle. I don't know. But, you know, he's like, you make me have feelings for you. And once again, we get this situation where these people don't have a healthy example of what love looks like. So they're stumbling through these romantic relationships knowing that they have some sort of romantic feelings for this person, but they don't really know what to do with them or how to operate with them. And you can even see with Gia, she mistakes desire for love, which is a thing that a lot of us do. Obviously, she's doing it in a more extreme way. I will give you that. But when she says that this previous soldier that she had sex with loved her, and then she says that, you know, the stepfather loved her even though he raped her, and the mom is explaining to her, like, that's not love. And she's like, well, tell me what love is. Tell me the difference between your love, which is basically a form of manipulation, and you're using me to get this daughter back when I am your daughter. What's the difference between that and what this man did to me? You were both using me for your own advantage. And so with her having sex with these men and she takes in their souls, I think that she's mistaking their desire or their lust for her for love, but her mom can't adequately articulate or exemplify what healthy love is. And that's a thing that we see in real life now anyway, where if your core relationships aren't exemplifying what healthy dynamics look like in relationships, you don't know how to seek that out and you don't know how to participate in that. So I thought that was a really interesting theme that they pointed out, that they keep pointing out in this show, is that people really don't know how to love because of this history of violence or abuse or neglect or abandonment that has happened in their relationship with their parents. So Tick and Gia are going back and forth about who's the monster, but Gia is like, why don't we decide who we're going to be? why don't we decide to be the people who we see in each other? Which I thought was a very beautiful way to put that, because Tick joined the army to escape the violent control of his dad, just to be under the violent control of the U.S. Army. So he traded one devil for another, you know, and I think that there was something alluring about possibly having a home in her. So that's how this relationship came to be. I was curious how they was gonna pull it off. And I was like, if they gonna both operate from a place where they gonna pretend that they don't know what happened, I'm not gonna be here for it. So I'm really happy that she said, like, sweetie, you killed my best friend, okay? You were a shit person. However, so would I be able to get past that? No, for Jonathan Majors, you know, we're not gonna talk about that. I have a huge crush on him, if you can't tell. So, I loved their, okay, I don't want to sound like a perv, but I love the sex scenes on this show, because something about them, they don't feel, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not sex just for the sake of sex. And there's something about the way that they're shot or the way that they're acted. I don't know if it's the intimacy coach. I don't know if it's the performers. I don't know if it's the cinematography or the angles, but the sex on this show is so beautiful. What I really, really loved was that Gia was taking his virginity, and when she said, I don't want to hurt you, it was such a switching of the roles there, because in so many movies, you know, you see this like tender moment where this man is taking this woman's virginity. That's a social construct that comes from patriarchy, but that's another video for another day. Where, you know, and he's like, oh, I don't want to hurt you, and it's being very gentle and these things. So I thought that it was really cool that they kind of flipped that and had Gia say that to him, especially because she really could kill you, like legit. So I thought that that was really cool. So we get to the penultimate scene of this episode where Tick is saying, you know, I can go home. I want you to come with me. She's explaining to him what a Kamiho is, and I thought that she was going to, in that moment, tell him that that's what she is, and she didn't get to it because they had sex again, and the tails came out, and he gets freaked out, but also she sees a premonition of his death, and he, you know, she tries to warn him, but he is understandably freaked out and runs away. And she and her mom go to the shaman because, you know, she did not claim this 100th soul. And the shaman is like, why are you, you know, because she has questions about Tick. Is he actually going to die? Is he going to be okay? And she's like, girl, these are human issues, and you're going to see a whole lot worse. And I was just like, damn, what's going to happen to Gia? So I'm wondering if she's ever going to come back, if this story, will her and Tick reunite? Is she gonna do something magical to save him? And I'm also wondering, when Tick kept trying to reveal to Uncle George, you know, what happened in Korea, was he actually wanting to say, I had sex with this girl that I think was a monster, that like I have experienced some magical supernatural shit before? Because in our mind, we all thought that he was, you know, struggling with some sort of war crime that he committed or something. But I'm wondering if what he wanted to tell Uncle George was like, have some experience with the supernatural. Let me tell you about it. So I thought that was really cool. This episode was really beautiful, very well done. I'm really happy that it was in Korean. I think that people need to not be too lazy to read subtitles. Like, you know how to read. It's fine. I'm really excited about the next episode. It's the Hippolyta episode. I cannot wait to see what that episode reveals for us. That's it, guys. As per usual, drop down in the comments. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode, what your predictions are, if I missed anything. And be sure to like and comment and subscribe and share, and join my Patreon if you feel so inclined, so that I can continue to provide free content. So thank you guys for joining me. Talk soon. Bye.